from the News Channel 5 network. This is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Lehman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Monday night on News Channel 5. Plus, we got tons of stuff to get to tonight, and you are welcome to be a part of the program. 737-7767 is the number. We will have lines open throughout the show for you guys to get in on your thoughts of what is going on. We're going to talk a little bit about the Predators. Came back home today from San Jose, getting set for Game 3 of that second-round Western Conference Series tomorrow night, 8 o'clock in Smashville. The Preds now down 2-0 in this series. Remember, they were up 2-0 against the Ducks in round 1 and then went on to lose 3 consecutive games. That series really became something after that. So as the Preds said today, look, whether it was last series or whether it's now, we understand that you got to win 4 of these things to win the series. So we're now coming back to our arena. It's our turn to hold serve at home, just like the Sharks did out there. As the old saying goes, a series doesn't really start until somebody wins a game on the road. And that hasn't happened yet. The Preds played well in San Jose, but couldn't quite get over the hump. Couple third period disappointments really doing them in. Game 1, they didn't play well at all in the third period. Last night they played pretty well, but got kind of an unlucky bounce that led to the Sharks taking control and eventually a 2-0 series lead. So we'll hear from some Preds coming up. But what's your impression of the series so far? Do you feel like the Preds have played right there with the Sharks team that seems to be clicking on all cylinders right now? How much do you think home ice advantage will help this team out? Do you think they can get back into the series with a couple of wins in Smashville? Or do you think San Jose has proven to be the better team in special teams and all of that to this point and maybe has a clear edge in this series moving forward? Remember, San Jose, the best road team in the NHL throughout the course of the year. So if there's any team that maybe that home ice advantage doesn't mean a whole lot for, could be the Sharks as they come in for Game 3 tomorrow night. Of course, the NFL Draft over the weekend as well. Local product Jalen Ramsey going 5th overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which means he will play twice a year against the Titans in the AFC South. We also had Keenan Reynolds go off to the Ravens. Great story there, because that part of the country, if any part of the country, really understands Keenan Reynolds and the type of person and player he was when he started Navy in Annapolis. Now, just down the road in Baltimore, he's got a shot to live out his NFL dreams. That is certainly a terrific story. And then what about the Titans? 10 new players in the draft. John Robinson's first draft as Titans GM. What do you make of what he did Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in this draft? The Titans, of course, trading out of the number 1 overall pick. They move down to 15, get all of those picks, the currency that allows you to make a move, like what John Robinson then did on Thursday night to move back up in the draft with a trade to the Browns. He gets the 8th overall pick and the opportunity to select Jack Conklin, big right tackle out of Michigan State. A guy that is just a mauler in the run game, a very, very physical presence in what he brings to your team. Smart guy, too, a versatile guy, well coached at Michigan State. You get him 8th overall. You give up a couple of the picks that you got in that trade with the Rams, but still, at the end of the day, the Titans get an extra couple second-round picks this year out of that deal. They get a third-round pick next year. They get a first-round pick next year. And they drafted the offensive lineman they most wanted in Jack Conklin. So, pretty good deal, I think, all in all, the way John Robinson manipulated this draft to get some more assets, but also get a player he really, really wanted in Jack Conklin to play on the right side of his offensive line. Second round, third round on Friday, more action for the Titans. You get a guy, Kevin Dodd, out of Clemson, who's a really good pass rusher. Really came on last year when he finally got the opportunity to play for the Tigers, a team that, by the way, played for the national championship. He's a guy that brings us some speed rushing and has the ability to play outside in the 3-4 defense that Dick LeBeau, of course, is going to run here. And then you've got a big guy in the middle in Austin Johnson out of Penn State. Derrick Henry, the Heisman Trophy winner. So now the Titans have two of those in their backfield. And that's a pick I'm curious of your impressions, because to some people, you already had DeMarco Murray. You went out and traded for DeMarco Murray this year. He's a former NFL rushing champion. Do you really need Derrick Henry? Do you need to take a running back right there in the second round of the draft? Other people look at it as, here's an opportunity to get the Heisman Trophy winner at the 45th pick in the draft. Opportunity to get physical and powerful and have another quality running back. Some people thought the Titans had no running backs last year. Now they've got two. You should feel pretty good about going into the year. So which side of the fence do you foul on the Derrick Henry debate in terms of the Titans selecting him number 45? And then one of my favorite picks that they had all weekend, because we've watched him, we've covered him, we've heard the sound bites before, but Kevin Byard, defensive back out of Middle Tennessee, 19 career interceptions down there, which I don't care where you play. If you can get 19 interceptions in your college career, you are a ball hawk that is doing something right. And Kevin Byard certainly did that for Rick Stockstill and company down in Middle Tennessee. Now he just gets to come up the road to Nashville and start his NFL career with the Titans. And they're excited about what he can be, especially long-term, maybe some adjustment to getting to the next level, but good anticipation. He's a student of the game and terrific ball skills that you don't often see from a defensive back. And so Kevin Byard is going to be an interesting guy to watch out of Middle Tennessee and what he does for the Titans. And then, of course, Tennessee with 5 more picks on Saturday. You get a wide receiver in there, a couple more defensive backs, an outside linebacker, and Aaron Wallace out of UCLA. And then, to me, perhaps the steal of the draft here for the Titans, a guard from Arkansas named Sebastian Tritola. This is a guy that's 330-plus pounds, plays in the middle of the line. He's got some versatility, but he's got a mean streak. He describes himself as nasty, and that's something you want to hear when you're talking about offensive linemen. That's something John Robinson wants to hear, because what he wants this team to be, first and foremost, is physical and get after people, and that's the type of player Sebastian Tritola is. Not a great athlete. So it'll be interesting to see how he transitions to the NFL, where everybody is fast and everybody is athletic. That's why he's not a first couple round pick, but he's a big guy. He's a powerful guy, and he brings the attitude that John Robinson and Mike Mularkey are looking for. So to me, he's the type of guy, All-American at Arkansas. He's played the highest level of competition he could to this point. He's the type of guy that could really develop into a player that could be a key part of your roster, could be a key part of your offensive line moving forward. Again, 737-7767 is the number tonight. We want to hear from you, your thoughts on the Predators series, also the Titans draft this weekend. And we begin tonight with David. David, you are first up tonight on SportsLine.
Okay, yes. I just want to talk about the Titans draft.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, from top to bottom, the way they picked the players, they was all in the right line. I mean, everything was just smooth. It seemed like it was the right fit, the way they picked the players.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Mike Mularkey, he was just grin from ear to ear, just knowing that he's got these players that John Robinson picked for him. It's like, yeah.
You got anything else, David?
That's it.
Okay. We appreciate the call tonight. I think you hit on something there. Mike Mularkey is in his third stint as a head coach in the National Football League. The first one was in Buffalo. Then he had 1 year in Jacksonville before they really changed things there and ran him out of town. When he talks about this job, and some people, criticize the fact that he's getting a third chance to be a head coach in the NFL after 2 didn't go very well, frankly. But the one thing he says about this job is the fact that he's being supported right now in a way that he never was in Buffalo, in a way that he never was when he was with the Jaguars for that 1 year. He believes that the ownership is behind him. He believes that he's got a GM now in John Robinson that's going to buy the right groceries, stock the cupboard with the right groceries for him to then prepare the meal and go out there and have a feast on Sunday against the competition. He feels like for the first time he's set up with the opportunity to do some things. And also, not that the Titans are going to be incredibly patient, but that they understand where they've been. Now, this is a team that's won 5 games in 2 years. They have been at the bottom of the NFL. I think they understand that you don't turn that around in one off season. This fall, this team probably isn't going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think that surprises anybody. But I think he believes we're going to move in the right direction this fall. We're going to prove that we're doing the right things here. We're going to have a leash. We're going to have a leash to turn this around and do it the way we want to. And I think that's another thing that you saw in this draft is that when John Robinson sat down there, he had a clear plan. Now, whether you agree with Derrick Henry at 45 or you agree with trading up to get a right tackle in the first round, all that can be debated. You can not like it, you can love it, you can think it was too expensive to trade back up or that Henry isn't a value pick there at 45. All of that can be debated. But what you cannot debate is the fact that John Robinson went in incredibly prepared, that he had a plan for this draft. What he wanted to do is he wanted to make this team physical. He wanted to make this team tough. And he wanted to give it an attitude. And what he did, especially with the early picks this weekend, Jack Conklin is a physical lineman out of the Big Ten, an all-American type player that now goes on your offensive line opposite Taylor Lewan on a line where you've spent a lot of work in the last few years and you're trying to bring it all together. He may be the missing piece. He gets a guy like that. His next 2 picks, Kevin Dodd, Austin Johnson, guys that will make you better in the trenches, that will get after you and be physical and give you a pass rushing presence and play well against the run. Derrick Henry, a smash mouth running back from Alabama that smashed SEC records last year in terms of yards and touchdowns from the line of scrimmage as a running back. That's a physical presence there. You get a guy like Tritola later in the rounds. He went after an attitude. He went after being tough. He went after being physical. And that's what the Titans want to be. Because right now, the skill set at certain places, like wide receiver, for instance, maybe isn't where it needs to be ultimately. So how do you compensate for the fact that your roster is a roster that's won 5 games over the last 2 years in the NFL? You compensate by muddying up the game. Be tough. Be physical on the line of scrimmage, on both sides of the ball. Run the football. And you know they're going to do that with Murray and now Derrick Henry on this roster. You run the football, you shorten the game, you muddy it up, you take the ball out of some of these prolific quarterbacks and offenses' hands. You make the game easier for Marcus Mariota. You give your team a chance. And that's what I think they did this weekend. Is this was part 1 of a phased process to build the roster they ultimately want. But I think in that process, they also gave this team right now a better chance to win games than the way it's been constituted the past couple of years. Want to hear more from you guys tonight. 737-7767 is the number. Follow in David's footsteps, and you can get in on our NFL draft discussion. What do you think about the picks? Who's your sleeper that you think is going to be a terrific Titan for years to come? Question marks on some of the guys or some of the picks that we had already talked about? Overall grade, perhaps, for what you give John Robinson in his first draft class. I think David was on board that it was a good draft class. I don't know if that's an A or a B, but a good draft class for John Robinson. What do you think? And also, Predators discussion. Getting set for Game 3 tomorrow. Down 2 games to none against the Sharks. How's the series going? not well in the score column, but are the Preds playing the way that they need to win games and, more importantly, eventually this series, which they hope will be a very long one right now. We got to take a break. We will come back. More SportsLine after this.